All right. Well, hey, we dodged a bullet. Literally, again. He did go on the 11th to the UFC fight in Madison Square Garden. And I think what they're doing, along with all the breadcrumbs they give us, so this is just a breadcrumb, could be absolutely nothing. Of course, we know this, but they're letting us know this is where it'll happen. It'll happen at a UFC fight. They've always got the monster in the octagon. It's all been, when you think of UF, just like the University of Florida, UF 216. That's why they were chosen for the Devil's Advocate and to represent Ghost in the Machine University. Antichrist University. Ghost in the Machine University, of course, is Alabama. The big fraternity called the Machine, and it's actually Satan. Nick Saban Satan, and they've referred to Saban as Nicky Satan, and different coaches have, and they've had to apologize for it. The one other coach called him the devil himself, and we've Googled that and showed you which coaches said it. James Franklin was one of them, and a Gator assistant was another. So they've always been giving you the hints. But you think of UF 216, James Bond's car tag, University of Florida, UFC 2163. And so they got the 216, of course, built right in there. Well, UFC 296, we've talked about this before. I think I've got a playlist on it about the T-Mobile Arena. And hang on just a second here. Yeah, so there's a 3-video playlist. It has Christmas Eve as the thumbnail, which is not the best thumbnail. Christmas Eve event and October 23rd rally at Trump T-Mobile and Trump at T-Mobile. And unfortunately, the thumbnail was Christmas Eve, which is still, a gigantic day. It's 2 days before a full moon. And it would have everybody mourning his death on Christmas Day while they all have the pagan tree in their house. But time to go mobile and Christmas Eve more. So I guess it's like a Christmas Eve and 1216. And when you think of 1216, we showed you it's 121 fused with 216. You literally have the 216 again. The Who going mobile, Trump at T-Mobile Arena 1216. And this is the biggest font as I think I can get is 72, so I hope you can see it. But it's the date would be 121 Antichrist fused with 216 when he's going to be at this T. Why is he going to be there? Well, he just showed you he was at UFC 295. Donald Trump at UFC 295, Madison Square Garden. So Donald Trump greeted by cheers upon arrival, UFC 295. So he's all over the place, right? And he's there, he's walking in, and so they're making a big deal and a big scene about it. And Colby Covington, which is 3-3, Colby Covington 3-3, CC 3-3. He calls himself Donald Trump's favorite fighter. Colby Covington says he's Donald Trump's favorite fighter. So there it is.
I'm Donald Trump's favorite fighter.
So he's going to be fighting at the T-Mobile Arena. And so on that playlist, we showed you how Bane says we're going mobile. We could not find the T-Mobile commercial talking about let's light it up, which was all about the technology, the Ghost in the Machine, all of it. And But that's where he's going to be, T-Mobile. Well, what's the T stand for? Trump going mobile. When Bane said, time to go mobile. Bane, time to go mobile. So might as well go ahead and show it. So turn the volume up a little bit.
Time to go mobile. Time to go mobile. Time to go mobile.
And then, of course, it's the T-Mobile Arena. Three 780-89-109. And of course, they do have the 216 in their phone number, 702-69-216-16. Wow. So it's a big deal, isn't it? T-Mobile. That is really shooting up towards the top. Now, we have to keep our eye on everything that's going on right now. Any day it could happen. 11/17 is coming up. I'm looking big at 11/15. And the following week, 11/22. For some reason, the Wednesdays show up for me a lot. The Wednesdays show up for me a lot. And of course, the TV show Wednesday, and how Wednesday and Friday were married to each other in Norse mythology, which is what Frigg and Odin, the god and goddess, were named after those days of the week, named after those gods and goddesses. There's only one goddess, that's Frigg, that's Friday. The rest are male. So going down on a Wednesday and rising on a Friday has always been number one for me. He can go down on the 15th and rise on 11/17. Just for giggles. You'd think that would be the day he would go down, but 11/17 is a Friday. And if they were going to mimic the death of Jesus on a Friday, and the anti-Jesus would be also on a Friday, then 11/17, of course, is still very big. As is Black Friday on the 24th. You have all the big games, all the rivalry games on Saturday. But I like him best going down then on Rivalry Saturday, because he would rise up through the full moon. iPet Goat showed him rising up through a full moon. And the full moon in Gemini, which he is a Gemini, Sun in Sag, Moon in Gemini, the exact opposite of when he was born. So this is born again versus being born again mimicking Christianity. Born again is a spiritual baptism in Christianity, and he would be spiritually indwelt with Satan. Hang on. It's very interesting, because the person I was just talking to, that phone call, their number 3 times 19, March 19th, 1998. Their number is 138, has the 88 and the 86. That's who just called while we were talking about this. And that person was at a UFC event in Miami, Florida with Trump inside the arena. That, I don't know if that was a sign from the Holy Spirit, but that's interesting. And she's born at 8:08 a.m. and her first name, middle initial, and last name come to the exact same as Donald J. Trump. the 148 in the simple gematria. So it's fascinating. It's not 2 days before a full moon. That's the only thing that really, December 2023 calendar. I've always wanted to be either on a Wednesday or 2 days before. Well, of course it's on a Saturday, goofball. It's a UFC event. So going down on a Saturday and rising on a Monday is not the best days for me. It's just not. Him going down one, on the 14th. I don't even want to get into it. It's 204. It's got 214 in there. 121 fused with 214 and 21. The 214th verse is the first time deadly wound is mentioned. It's Revelation 13:3. So on and so forth. But anyway, okay. But Wednesdays really would be the 20th, rising on the 22nd. And the solstice, the darkest day of the year, would be when he would be in the ground, theoretically speaking, to mimic spiritually when they're copying the situation that Jesus. The 20th would be the biggest day for me. It sure would. And don't forget my friend, the last relationship I had. She's born on the 20th, 12, 20, 1966. And she has the 718 right in the heart of her number, which is when the Dark Knight came out, Porsche 911, Porsche 718. And when you multiply her by my number, because I'm 7 times 6 times 1961, you have the 38, you have the 88, you have the 86, you have the reversing of the 86 with the 68, back to the 86, back to the 68 again. And her birthday, that's my last relationship. And her birthday is the 20th. Turning 57. Anyway, so there's just so much to look at. But we go by certain parameters. 2 days before a full moon is big. The event happening related to moons, eclipses, amount of days away from eclipses. Just like 11/11 was 28 days. That was a big deal. 11/11, getting past 11/11 was a big deal. Just a gigantic deal. And but I'm looking at the 15th, which is on a Wednesday. November calendar I've got up here now. So the 15th on a Wednesday is a big day. That would be rising on Frigg on Friday, rising on 11/17. And then we have rivalry Saturday when Florida plays Florida State, Auburn plays Alabama, Michigan plays Ohio State. For him, now, if they want to match it up on a Friday, like Jesus died on a Friday, he would go down on Black Friday. But maybe be pronounced dead on Saturday. Then he would rise up through 9/27, November 27th, full moon. That's rising up through a full moon. That's a big deal. The 22nd hits for me big time, which is the JFK 60-year anniversary. So anyway, that's about it. we really are keeping our right eye on this T-Mobile UFC event. It's UFC 296. Probably need to gematria all of that. So anyway. All right, love you. Oh, don't forget Telling Truth 3, kind of the backup channel. Mystic Pizza, I'm going to take a look at because it is the Porsche 911. Matter of fact, let's do that right now. So 128.05 is today. Tomorrow on the new moon, 120.86 or 128.06, rising 128.08. Him going down on a new moon would just be insane. And then he would be rising up through what? The full moon. Planted on the new moon, rising on the full moon, so to speak. In their astrology world, the best time to begin new things is on a new moon, and then they culminate on the full moon. So it's a new moon in Scorpio. Then it's the full moon in Gemini. Now, another way to look at it is what took place on the new moon in Gemini. When was it a new moon in Gemini? Because it would have been June. Was on June 18th. It's 162 days, but remember the movie The Hours. They're telling us to always look at the hours. It's 3888 from the new moon in Gemini to the full moon in Gemini. It's 162 days. In the minutes, it's 2332, which is Eve. In Strong's Concordance, Old Testament. It's 44.38% of a year. It's very interesting. The new moon in Gemini to the full moon in Gemini, which I think is another way to look at their codes. I used to be an astrologer. I was a Catholic astrologer. And it was the Catholic school that showed me astrology. So that's spirit, and that's how the Lord had it. And the Lord made me very adept at astrology. I never talked to somebody off the street that knew as much of astrology as I did. I mean, the Lord had me well versed in it. There were people on the internet, obviously, that knew way more. But I never ran into anybody. I was always teaching them stuff. As funny as it is. Once I got well versed in it, I should say. And of course, Daniel was trained by the Chaldeans. He was over the Chaldeans. He was in charge of the astrologers. So Daniel knew astrology. He just didn't practice it. He didn't believe in it. He didn't believe it had any relevance. And it doesn't. That's the thing. The Holy Spirit, when the Lord comes in your life, he pulls you out of all of that. Their world of numerology, adding numbers together, breaking them down eventually to one number, and then it tells something about yourself. So anyway, didn't mean to get off on that. But looking That's big stuff. Big stuff. Looking at the moons is always big. And we look at November. That new moon is, and then it goes right into the Archer. It would be on the Archer, like I was telling you, that November 15th he had a bow and a crown was given to him, and then him rising on November 17th is Capricorn, which is the sea goat, which is what I Pet Goat. I Pet Goat begins with the goat. Capricorn's moon is the goat. Or does he go down on 11/17, the goat, which is why he is the goat? Then he would rise on that Sunday with the Aquarian moon, because we've shown you all the water in I Pet Goat, and the water breaking and all that kind of stuff, the birthing. So, but those are my favorites. Him going down on Sag, rising on Cap, or going down on Cap, rising on Aquarius. You know, two-way goes there. Look at it either way. So, but Mystic Pizza, that's what we were getting back to. So Mystic Pizza, and it had a release date on the 8th, or a premiere on the 18th. Very tricky, isn't it? If we run it to Wednesday, to 808. $28.11, $28.13. If we run Mystic Pizza to December 16th, $128.42. Run it to the 21st. Well, you do have the 83 on the 16th. On the 15th, you have the 83 and the 38 for Mystic Pizza's release date. I don't know. Maybe Mystic Pizza's nothing. You know. All right. Anyway, love you.